Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is Marcus Green. Marcus, it's a somber show tonight. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Doing okay. Yeah, like I said, somber show tonight. Not a lot of topics, but we never needed a lot of topics to go for long conversations. So we'll see how this works.
No, we do not. Unfortunately, we're going to start off with some rough news. It's old hat by now for those on the Twitter sphere, but if you're not as engaged in the social media, this may be news to you. But former Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling tag team wrestler Jimmy Rave has passed away. He's been dealing with MRSA. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's basically a flesh eating disease that attacks the organs as well,
Yeah.
it basically took his arm and both of his legs in
Oof,
amputations. Yeah.
Jesus.
Now it's not been revealed if that was the cause of death, but it'd be a fair guess if that's the route you wanted to go with your assumption. I'm sure we'll know more about it later, but he's gone, and he's always had his issues with drugs, which I feel like he was one of, like, him and Jeff Hardy, which is ironic because Hardy's on the show tonight as well. Not on the show, but like we're gonna talk about. I feel like they're two of the last big names in wrestling that had like a drug issue that was prevalent and obvious. I'm sure there might still be people who are dealing with issues, but like they're of the younger side of things. Like I don't know of anyone else who's dealing with serious drug issues. Like, all right, Moxley's got an alcohol problem, so maybe he's the youngest of the group now. But like, I can't think of a lot of guys that are in that lifestyle anymore. And he was kind of like the last of that generation, him and Jeff Hardy. And it's unfortunate that he's gone, and he was quite depressed, when the infection took his arm and forced him to retire. So a lot of people came out and they're sharing their memories, their condolences, and even though he had his own issues with drugs, the one thing that everyone always talked about is how nice of a guy he was and how much he always wanted to help people. And that seems to be kind of his legacy is the dude who always wanted to help, no matter what show he was on, what company he worked for, and that speaks a lot about who he is. For those who didn't get to see him, he did a lot of work with Ring of Honor. He was part of the Embassy with Prince Nana, one of the best managers of all time. He was also part of Matt Hardy's Scum faction, if I remember correctly. And I feel like he was part of Generation Next, although that may have just been Shelley, Aries, and Strong. Could be wrong on that one. And of course, in Impact, he was a member of the Rockin' Raven faction with Christy Hemme and Lance Hoyt, aka Lance Archer, aka Vance Archer, aka whatever other dumbass. Oh, Dallas. That's another name. Big Dallas. Hoyt, what are you doing, bud? Just terrible names. Just terrible, terrible names. It's sad to see him go. I was never the biggest fan of the guy, but when you have so many people speak so positively about you, it really speaks to who you are. It's unfortunate, and the topic of today's show is basically saying goodbye because we're saying goodbye to Jimmy Rave, fans are saying goodbye to Ring of Honor, WWE is saying goodbye to Jeff Hardy. Alberto Del Rio is saying goodbye to people who are accusing him of crime. So, the only person saying hello on today's show is Gail Kim because she wants to say hello to some people. So, it's definitely a topical themed show tonight. Marcus, I don't know if you have many memories of Jimmy Ray, but if you have anything you want to throw into the conversation, by all means.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's sad. I didn't even know about the whole Mercer situation. Jimmy Ray was really somebody I kept up with. Familiar with him vaguely through his time in TNA, through the Rock and Rave infection. That was him, Hoyt, and Hemi, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool concept that really worked Not only with I think those individuals personally, but certainly on an aesthetic level, specifically with that time doing TNA. So that was cool. Um, and yeah, it just sucks, man. You because you don't hear about a ton of cases when we talk about wrestling anyway with that particular medical situation. Um, but that man, that's hard to hear. You
Yeah.
know, and then I don't imagine the situation got any less tedious during COVID.
No.
So man, God bless him. Doesn't have to suffer anymore because he's in a better place. And yeah, it's always good to see somebody like that get some good praises and talked about, specifically when they haven't been on the scene and really mentioned in years. So, the community usually comes out if it's not an outright scumbag that people, uh, just so happen to see gone or something like that. It was cool to see him get, talked about like that. And obviously, Impact always acknowledges, you know, um, people in that regard. So, man, just, God bless him.
To add a little levity, speaking of scumbags, so I saw a Hulk Hogan meme the other day. I was going to send it to you, but I was on my phone, and it's a complicated process to get anything done on that thing. But it was a Maury Povich meme, and the line was basically something to the effect of, um, it was like one of those paternity test gags, and I forget like how he summed it up. Like in the case of everyone in the world, they are not your brother, and like they just like show like a string of like depressed Hogan photos, like clutching his head, like what? I saw that. I'm like, oh, oh no, oh no. I try not to hate the guy. Like, I don't want anyone to have a bad life, but sometimes like you hear things and you're like, okay,
No, yeah, I mean, you don't hate the guy, but it's just like, when something like that comes out and then you piece together so many other things, the pathological inconsistency of lying over the years, um, the the sex tape thing, the whole just how he is, and then you hear about the situation with New Day, and certain stuff just line up, and it's like you can respect him for what he did and what he was to the profession, but outside of that, you just like just an old buff orange weird man,
brother.
dude.
I will say this. I think somebody posted this on Twitter, and I don't know if it's true, but the person who posted it generally has a good track record of posting factual things. And they said something to the effect like Hogan only ever put over 12 people clean in the ring. And one of them was Tony Atlas. So he might be one of those, well, there's a difference between black and N word kind of guys. And I don't know if that makes it better or not, but, Hogan clearly didn't always have an issue with black people. He put over Tony Atlas. That's something, right?
No, this was unintentional, but your unintentional transition with me coming off of saying an old buff weird guy, and then
And
you
then
bring
go
up
to
Tony.
Tony Atlas.
Oh, oh God.
Dude, Tony Atlas is a character. Man, I don't know what it is, but like wrestlers from the '70s are like the best old people.
I don't know, folks listening. I don't know if any of you have gone back and watched any of the kayfabe commentaries, but if you're gonna start with one, or just watch one in general, watch Tony Atlas.
Oh no. Like Tony Atlas, Sheiky Baby, like these are some weird cats, man. I love them. Not so much Ted DiBiase, but his children are just criminals. Like that's interesting. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
Minister.
how's Ass Junior doing? Like Ted,
I think he's trying to avoid legal prosecution because I'm pretty sure, like, I'm pretty sure it was Ted Jr.'s foundation that was accused of like siphoning money or something like that, and his son Brett had
no, no.
like some type of like gun charges. Like I think he had like a standoff with the police like 5 years ago. Yeah, the DiBiase's are kind of a weird family, man. I'll have to look. I'm gonna have to look some of that up while we talk about another departure from the wrestling scene, and that departure belongs to one Ring of Honor. So we're gonna jump to the climax of the story before we get into the actual details. Apparently, Jonathan Grisham, Mr. Ring of Honor till I die, is apparently DOA because he's saying "fuck Ring of Honor," and I'm like, oh, what? What? All right.
Second prominent black dude to potentially do so.
Right? And it's like, what? So basically, he doesn't go into any details, and it may have more been like kind of like a work shoot thing, or maybe just a work thing. But he basically said, for many years, I believed in this company. Blindly, I believed that this company cared, but it wasn't until a global pandemic hit that I realized that they do not. I realized that they were forced to use us for pure technical wrestling. I realized that they did not care about honor. As long as I am champion, I will not allow this company to get back on its feet and abandon us again. I will not allow it. I will take heart and soul of the company and the essence of the company, and I will take it with me to Terminus. In Terminus, the pure professional wrestler, the pure style will be valued. We will not be treated like a last resort. We are the essence, we are the lifeblood, we are the future of professional wrestling. I know this because I am the foundation. Now, this may very well just be a way to get Terminus over, and Terminus is his new promotion, and it's kind of going to be done in the same vein as Bloodsport, only not so much focused on the MMA style, which is what Bloodsport is physical, striking kind of combat, while more like a work shoot pancrase if you're an MMA aficionado and you're aware of what pancrase is. But Terminus, I guess, is going to be more map based. So it's going to be very interesting, and I'm very excited to see it because I am very much a fan of the technical aspect of wrestling. And I'm a big Grisham guy. And if they can get Grisham versus Danielson, yeah, I'd be all right with that. So there's definitely going to be some things to check out on the show. Now, I don't know if this is a work shoot or not, but it is one of those things where it perked my ears up, especially with his recent diatribe of how he's going to be Ring of Honor until he dies and until they go out of business. He's going to be Ring of Honor first, and it's like, okay, but is that legit or what? I don't know. Marcus, do you buy John Grisham being done with Ring of Honor, or at least having some issues with them?
Yeah, I think it was a decent mix of both. I mean, because something got botched, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when it came to that show, it was always gonna come down to the pride and talent, comprised of that roster that it probably had to be there more for each other in these last um, however many years than the company has been. Um, just holding up that banner that once stood as a place for them to truly get themselves over. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think you with that potentially being the final battle, you take some of that piss and vinegar out and kind of verbalize it, but also you got to respect the brand in some form or fashion because you're holding the OG title. So I think it was a mix of both. I think it's definitely bittersweet for somebody like him who really put his all into putting that company and that style and that division on his back for the last year and some change,
Mm-hmm.
and for a couple like this, it has to suck. But at the same time, you can't wallow in it. You got to pick yourself up and get to the next thing, and Terminus is that next thing. So I think it was a happy mix of everything. And I think Grisham was definitely the person I think to definitively, be that nail of the end the show and then hang the proverbial hat on, if you will. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think he probably said the best version of what a lot of other people who were there probably wanted to say, but didn't necessarily have um the PG verbiage, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if you so
Now there was an impromptu all black wrestler kind of salute that didn't go over the way they were hoping it would. And I think this is what you were alluding to before about prominent black wrestler. Or am I wrong?
Oh no, but that's also a great segue into it though.
Well, what was the other one that you were referencing then?
No, just saying that this whole thing about looking at because we talked about the concept of like okay is things with Ring of Honor really coming to an end, and it's like when Jay Lethal jumped ship,
Oh, okay, okay.
and then now Gresham, who's put the like there ain't two people who's put the company on their back more, and then not only in the same faction, the fact that it's the two of them that closed out in the main event, I think. So that's yeah, obviously I don't think that was intentional, but that's just kind of how I felt.
Well, there was another moment that I don't know if they expected it to be on screen or not, but there was a little hubbubaloo involving
Yeah,
a former teammate of mine, Shane Taylor. And I don't know everyone that was in the ring, but I saw him, Kenny King, the other two guys from his stable. I want to say Caprice Coleman, and they did a Black Power salute, but he was pissed. Shane Taylor was pissed because they did it during a CM Punk a promo essentially. Like Punk was talking about Ring of Honor because that was the theme for the night. Like they had like Bryan Danielson's, CM Punk,
the Bucks.
the Bucks. I think Hangman Page, Kenny Omega. So like they had a bunch of names that were doing tributes, and
Yeah,
that was in between every match there was one of these. And Shane Taylor was apparently pissed off because like this is what people wanted to see, and I'm like, all right, I agree to an extent, but also, bro, CM Punk. I'm pretty sure he's gonna trounce top, anything you got planned. Especially if it was like something that you guys were only planning between you guys and didn't talk to the people running the show. Because if this was a moment you wanted to have on TV, wouldn't you have like a coordinated effort to try to get it on TV? Because it didn't feel like it was. It felt like it was more like a backstage, like, let's do this together type of scenario. And he was kind of miffed about it. I don't know why he thought that would, make bank over CM Punk, but hey, it's like the dude who always tells like the top ranked boxer, "I'm gonna beat you." It's like, all right, it's nice that you think that, but I'm where I am for a reason, and you're not. And I've been watching a lot of boxing stuff on the YouTube channel, so like it's quite prevalent. And plus, Juliana Pena just defeated the Amanda Nunez, and that was another conversation. Like this girl thinks she's gonna beat me, and that's funny. So like, Punk's gonna top you, man. I'm sorry. Like he's the bigger draw, and just how it is. Like I know you think you might be the bigger draw, but you're not. And I love you. I love Shane Taylor. He's a good dude. But come on, Shane. You can't
yeah.
be that upset about it.
I mean, you generally been singing his praise long before I even got on the bandwagon. Like Shane's to me has exploded to me in the last few years, mostly because of him being prominently featured more, which
Mm-hmm.
has been a sticking point for him for a long time, admittedly. And maybe that's a lot of what was also feeding into that too. Because I think ultimately, even outside of the Punk thing, which is you can't really debate. I mean, just even with Punk coming in via satellite or recorded message or whatever is gonna trump it because it's him. But and then obviously all that RH nostalgia just comes flooding in. But yeah, him getting up there with all those guys, it did it. Um, I didn't know about the it trying to get on camera because it felt like I think somebody obviously in the crowd took the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and because of that, it kind of came off like something they just did. But I didn't know about all the potential plan to get it on TV. But I think the other
Well, I
unfortunate,
want to be clear. I don't know if they tried to then. That was kind of more my point. Like
yeah,
he was mad that it wasn't aired, but it
mm,
definitely did not feel like it was something that they had talked with. Like
yeah,
it
yeah,
felt
like
very impromptu, like we're gonna do
yeah,
this ourselves.
yeah, because I think it happened after his match, and all those guys just so happened to be, yeah. So maybe it was something I don't know if it came over last minute or they thought that when they did it, the people would be like, "This is TV worthy,"
Mm-hmm.
and he deemed it otherwise because like what I was getting to, the other unfortunate part of this is it got taken out of context and you know like this anti thing that it really wasn't. Like they was
Mm-hmm.
protest the show, protest something on the show, or what have you, when it really was just a show of pride with those guys.